Hi, so this is the new Infinix Note 7. It is the only phone right now from Infinix that I can actually recommend for anybody to buy without actually thinking the person is going to run into troubles along the way when they start using the phone. This phone is a pretty nice phone. They've gotten a few things right here, even though some things have not been gotten right yet. And another thing you need to know is that this phone is pretty large, like it's super large to hold. It's about 6.9 inches. And by comparison with the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus, which is 6.8 inches, it looks a little bit taller. But when it comes to the screen to body ratio, the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus seems to have more real estate than the Infinix Note 7. The reason I'm showing you this is if you ever plan to buy this phone, just know that you are holding almost a tablet. If you are not into big devices or you don't like devices that are too large, you might want to avoid these two phones. They are significantly large devices. Okay, before we go ahead, I want to issue a disclaimer here. These teardown videos I make are for educational purposes. I feel like it is your right as the consumer to know what is inside these phones if you're being lied to, if you're being told the truth, right? So I don't make these videos to attack any brand. I don't make these videos to attack Infinix, Itel, Samsung, or whichever brand I have done a teardown for. I only make them for you guys that are the consumers to be able to know if you are actually spending your money right, okay? These guys are all doing a good job providing phones that are affordable for people in the low income market or in the budget space. So these videos are for educational purposes. Please don't take them too serious or don't take them personal, all right? There's nothing personal here. It's just technology. So as usual, we're going to start making incisions here by the side for us to go in, and we do that by using a razor and dipping the razor inside some ethanol so we can soften the adhesive that is holding this plastic back cover to the frame. Thankfully today I came out with everything. I didn't forget my plastic cards in the office, so I'm not using Naira notes. We've also done teardown for the Infinix S5 Pro. If you haven't seen that video, I'll leave it up there in the description, or I'll leave it up here in the YouTube card. You can bookmark it and go and watch it after you finish watching this teardown, alright? A standard practice in opening a device of this caliber usually is we use a heat gun, hit the back of the device. After we finish hitting the back of the device with the heat gun, we use a plastic card and try to pull the back cover off. But in this case, it's different because these phones are not made in glass. These phones are made in plastic. Phones of this caliber, I mean. But since these mid-range phones are made in plastic, you can't use heat because plastic is plastic, and plastic will definitely melt when it comes in contact with heat. So we have to do it manually, just as I'm doing it now. It usually takes me between 1 to 2 minutes to take off the back cover of a device like this, but this very one took me between 6 to 7 minutes, and that is because I was just being careful not to yank off any ribbon cables that might be placed in places that I don't know. Reasons being, I had not opened this very device before prior to this time. Slowly and surely, I was able to take out the back cover, and voila, guess what? See the ribbon cables? Just as I predicted, they were just running on top of the battery. So if I had not been careful, definitely I would have yanked them off, and that fingerprint reader would have been rendered useless. So here's the back cover we've been trying to remove, and it is made in pure plastic, as you already know. And that is an advantage of devices like this. Even if they fall off your hand, they will not break. So there are 16 screws here that are holding the plastic frame to the main carcass of the device. And let's take those off so that we'll be able to access the main board. I used my nails to try to take off the plastic frame of the device, and it was a little bit strong, but I was able to take it off anyway. One thing you're going to notice inside this plastic frame is that there are a lot of antenna points inside, and that is one disadvantage of using plastic to design these devices. The other thing you're going to quickly notice here on this frame is the fingerprint reader. Now this thing is pretty tiny. It's mounted by the side of the device. I'm going to try to take it off the frame now so that we can take a closer look at it. One thing you're going to notice right away once we take this fingerprint reader off the frame of this device is that this thing is pretty tiny, and it looks large when it's on the device because it's the same color with the frame of the device, so you don't really notice how tiny it is until it's been taken off. And another thing here you have to know is that this fingerprint reader doesn't serve as the power button. It is not the power button. Now, from reviews you will actually be told that this fingerprint reader serves as the power button. Yes, that is true. Now what it does is that they place this thing by the side of the power button, and then they now put a little knob by the side of that the reader. Whenever you press it to unlock your device, that little knob or that little thing by the side is going to trigger the main power button which is on the device, and that will automatically turn on the device, and it gives you the illusion that it is actually the fingerprint sensor that is acting as the power button, but that is not the case here. It is different, as you can see. Going back now to the main device, you will notice here that everything was actually coupled very neatly here. Now this is unlike Infinix because their devices are not usually this neat when you open them inside. Well, this is something you guys don't see, but those of us that open these devices every day, we see things like this, and it doesn't really look good to the eyes. But one thing I have noticed here is how good this device was coupled. Like, you can see the 4 cameras there just lying down and looking at you very beautifully and stuff. Looks quite interesting. Let's take out the board. So there is a single screw here that is holding the main board of the device to the carcass of the device. We are going to take that off and also unclip a couple of ribbon cables here before we pull the board out. So I haven't taken off everything I'm supposed to take. I use my knife and carefully lift off the board off the frame of the device. So it's not a really tiny board. The board is a little bit large, as you would have expected. So let's go ahead and unclip that main 48 megapixel sensor there. Let's see if it's actually a true 48 megapixel sensor. One of the things I have noticed straight up looking at this sensor is that this sensor is a little bit larger than the sensor we saw on the Infinix S5 Pro that I reviewed, that is also 48 megapixels. And this sensor also has optical image stabilization, which you can actually see here. As I use my screwdriver to tip the mouth of the lens, you can see that it's actually moving, which means once you're taking videos and you're running, this thing is just going to try to stabilize to make sure you have a stable footage. This sensor is actually a 16 megapixel sensor. Now what happens is, once you bring out your phone and you take a picture, by default it takes the picture in 16 megapixel mode, and then it uses the AI or software to enhance the photos and stuff. Now once you switch your camera to the 48 megapixel mode, what it will do is that it's going to take two 16 megapixel photos and then combine them together, use the AI or use the software of the device to enhance the photos, and therefore it gives you the 48 megapixel photo that you actually took. Now this is not new here because we've actually seen this in Xiaomi devices like the Redmi Note 8 and the Redmi Note 8 Pro actually use this kind of technology too. So there you have it. And also what you're going to notice is that when you take photos with the Infinix Note 7, the photos actually look far better than any other Infinix device you will actually take photos with. The other sensors are just sitting on a particular tray, so I'm just trying to see if I can take that off. And while I have taken that off, let's see what the sensors look like. All these other sensors here are just gimmicks. The main job of this device is being done by that 48 megapixel depth sensor. And going over to the front of the device is actually a 16 megapixel main lens that actually takes very good pictures with the AI of the device, and thanks to that Halo G70T that runs on the device. So let's talk about the main board of this device. Now once I opened this device and brought out this board, one thing I actually noticed was that the quality of the material that was used in making this board is now different from other Infinix phones. And that is what happens if you begin to use quality chipsets like the G70T to run on your devices. You will actually have to use better materials, because if they had used the previous material that was used in the other Infinix devices to design this board, then this board will definitely melt when this G70T starts heating. And one other thing you are going to notice here too is that there is a lot of thermal paste all over this board. That is because there's a lot of processing going on with the G70T and it needs to be cooled with everything possible. Remember the 4 LED flashlights you used to see at the back of the device? Well, this is what they look like from inside. Just 4 LED lights stitched together that gives you that awesome brightness that you like. Back to the remaining carcass of the device, there is nothing really left inside. It's just the earpiece up here, which you can see. And then here is what that hole punch looks from the inside. So I carried my flashlight here from my Galaxy Note 10 Plus. I was flashing it through for you guys to actually see where the LED light and the hole punch comes through. It's actually transparent. And also, let's not forget to look at the speaker. Let's look at what the speaker looks like, the down-firing speaker I mean. But first of all, here's the subboard that houses the vibrator, the mouthpiece, the ringer, the network, and a whole lot of things. It's still the same subboard that has been coming in other Infinix devices, so there's really nothing here that is different. Also, we still have a single firing speaker at the bottom. Okay guys, so there you have it, the Infinix Note 7 part by part. So let me know down in the description if you've actually been impressed with this phone or not. Alright, don't forget to subscribe. Okay, so I'll catch you again in the next video that's coming your way sooner than you think.